Just rolled credits on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I have a lot to say about this game. Some good, some bad. But I will say I am going to get into spoilers, but I will warn you well in advance before I do. So the first portion of this video is going to be spoiler free. And I'm going to talk about some topics of things I liked, things I didn't like. Then I'm going to put a big splash screen that says, hey, we're going to talk about spoilers. And then we're going to talk about story spoilers. So if you haven't played the game, don't worry. I'm not going to give anything away until later on. Ultimately, this game was good. There were a lot of bad things about this game, and as I really played through it and struggled with a lot of the mechanics in the game, it reminded me that for every step forward this game takes, it definitely takes one step back. There are a few things, though, that are shining beacons that really were phenomenal in every sense of the imagination. And that was world building and that was characters. The world building was phenomenal. The planets you explore, the ships that you go on, the areas that you get to interact with are very distinctly Star Wars. They feel like Star Wars. And it's a lot of fun. And they really took a very broad look at the galaxy. And you're going to encounter a lot of races that I have never seen before. Maybe they're in cartoons or in comic books. I'm not entirely sure, but you're going to encounter a lot of races and a lot of alien species and a lot of different parts of the world that you have not seen before. And they were all modeled phenomenally. I really felt like I was part of a Star Wars movie, and I think that is probably the most glowing praise I can give about any Star Wars game. The characters were equally phenomenal as well. The way that they were modeled, the way that they interacted with the world, their story arc, which I will talk about later, the way that they were definitely involved in the conflict. They all had their hero moment, so to speak. They just really looked and played the part. However, there are a lot of things that this game does good and immediately does bad, which I think really tainted my experience. I've been seeing a lot of the reviews here giving it 8s and 9s. I don't know if we played the same game or not. I think my score would probably be more in par with a 6 or so out of 10. I don't give ratings anymore. I don't really see any purpose in that. I'm just talking about things that I experienced as I played the game. Graphics were phenomenal. I played it on my PC. It had ultra widescreen support. I was getting beautiful, beautiful light and draw distances and light textures and graphical mapping, like how textures looked, how real the grass looked, how blue the sky was. Your lightsaber, when you're walking through these dark caves and you're holding it out in front of you and it's acting like a flashlight, the way that it hums, the way that little pieces of snow would hit the blade and zap off. Beautiful. Absolutely jaw-dropping beautiful. But the performance was atrocious. I'm playing on a 2080 Ti. It is a monster of a machine. And I was skipping and I was getting some incredibly low frame rates for absolutely no reason. This game is incredibly, incredibly unoptimized, and I don't understand why I was getting so many performance hits. I have heard people playing it on console saying that they had ridiculous load times. My M.2 loaded the game in seconds. That's what this thing does. I didn't have any issues with any of the loading screens or anything like that, but wow, did I have a lot of performance issues. Wow, did I have a lot of freezing and hitching and AI problems and clipping through the world. Just not good. The performance overall in this game, really, really bad. This game has no polish to it whatsoever, and it's incredibly frustrating. Exploration, great. As I mentioned earlier, the world building in this game really takes a front seat. And it's phenomenal to walk around these worlds and see areas that you can and can't get to through this incredibly detailed, useful map. Unfortunately, you can't put any waypoints down, but that's okay. You're going to get lost in the world. You're going to walk around and want to explore, and you're going to want to see everything and find all these artifacts that will give you glimpses into the world in the past. And you're going to want to find all the hidden skill points in each level and all the Jedi upgrades in each level. And really just sink your time and lose yourself into these beautiful worlds that are really, really detailed. However, why? What is the reward? It's ponchos, it's lightsaber hilts, it's mantis colors, it's BD1 colors. They're junk rewards. They're useless cosmetic rewards. I don't know how many different ponchos I need to have. I realized that I wasn't getting anything fun out of exploration at about the halfway point. And I mean that I wasn't reading the lore like I was before. I was just taking in the world and enjoying the story for what it was. But there was really no incentive for me to go off and explore. My character wasn't getting any stronger. I wasn't getting any really cool upgrades. It just felt like a bore. And you have this great mechanic in the game as you learn new abilities and you get to uncover new things that should have made the game fun to walk around in. But I just blew through the story at the second half of the game because I was tired of getting ponchos. So if you're going to make a detailed world, will you please make a detailed world that matters? And this was a major miss for me. World map design, as I touched on earlier, was great. The map is very detailed. It shows you in colors, whether they're green, yellow, or red, whether or not it's an area you have explored, can now explore thanks to an upgrade, or cannot explore yet because you don't have the upgrade. It gives you a great sense of where you can go and, most importantly, how to get there. You're going to get lost along the way. That's part of the fun. You're going to go down paths you shouldn't have been on and fight enemies and mini bosses and this group of bounty hunters that are chasing you. It's really cool. But the world interaction takes a big back seat because unless you play this game exactly as Respawn wants you to play it, you're going to find a lot of frustration. You're going to find cliffs that look like you can climb on, but the game won't let you climb on. You're going to find platforms that look like you can be able to jump to. The game is going to put invisible walls to prevent you from doing so. You're going to find creative solutions to problems that pretty much should be solved that way, but nope. Respawn wants you to go a different way, unlock different upgrades, and come back later. There's no sense of freedom and exploration in the way you have like an Assassin's Creed game where if you see something and you want to climb up there, climb up there. You'll most likely be rewarded with some sort of chest or some sort of cool upgrade or something like that for your character. Not so much in this game. As a matter of fact, it's a total waste of time. Do exactly what the map shows you. There is nothing more to see in the world, despite the fact you'll be walking parallel to a bridge that looks like you could jump to it. As you jump to it, the screen will fade to black. It'll put you back on the bridge you're supposed to be on, and you'll take a health penalty. This happens time and time again, and it really draws a lot of life out of the world that has been so meticulously built. The last thing, and by far the biggest thing with this game, the combat. Clearly, it's a Star Wars game. Your lightsaber is front and center. You don't have any blasters. You do have some limited force powers that you're going to be able to use and upgrade through a very light skill tree. Combat works phenomenally if you parry. That means you hit the block button at the exact second an enemy hits you. And depending on the difficulty, the game will give you more of a grace period there. Since difficulty can be changed at any time, you may find that you need to lower your difficulty and then ramp it back up later if you feel like you don't want to play it on baby mode. However, if you don't parry in this game, you're going to pay the price. particularly towards the end. Some of the bosses really can only be beat with parrying. There is really no way to get around that. And unfortunately, the game doesn't really instill that sense of parrying with you during regular combat as you're cutting through waves and waves of stormtroopers and aliens and different types of robots. They're going to go down with ease. You're going to feel like a bona fide Jedi badass, swinging your sword, your lightsaber, taking out waves of enemies, using the Force to push them off cliffs, pull them towards you, manipulate their blaster fire to kill each other. It's a lot of fun. It's a great sandbox system. But then when you go into boss battles and you go into some of these scripted fights and you try to do that, you're going to fail miserably and you're not going to understand why. And that's because the game wants you to play it a very specific way, and combat has to be done in a very specific manner. That's why I think it's not that great. So as you could see over here, there is quite a list of great things and then immediately really, really bad things. With that, I'm going to close out the spoiler-free section. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here and let you guys know we are getting into spoiler territory. So come back after you beat the story and let's talk about some of the things that I liked and didn't like about that. 3, 2, 1. Let's talk about some of the spoilers in this game, detailing on the story. There were some things that I loved and some things that I hated. You're noticing a pretty common theme here. I loved Cal's redemption. And I say redemption loosely because he did nothing wrong. But clearly the loss of his mentor was very, very traumatic for him. And he really struggled with that really until the end of the game, when finally at the very end of the game, he made peace with the person that he was. He said goodbye to his mentor in a way to honor his memory and his legacy, and that made him a much more powerful Jedi in the last quarter of the game. And I really liked Cal's story arc. I really identify with him as a hero, and I hope that if there is a sequel to this game, Cal is involved, because he was definitely a very prominent character, obviously, but one that I really identified with. Cere's redemption. She was phenomenal, despite her bug eyes, which was a little weird. Here you have a Jedi who has failed her student, who has this incredible guilt with her, basically turns herself off from the Force and decides that she instead needs to just observe from afar, finally realizes that she can make a change. She can go after Trilla. She can try to fix the wrongs that she's made. What an incredible arc in the last 30 minutes. It really made her story arc phenomenal. Really, it sung just a high praise for me. It was definitely in parallel to me with Cal's redemption. I think the way that they wrote their two stories, where they were kind of going through the same things but almost from different perspectives, was really great. And you saw that these two characters needed each other at the end to kind of get over these emotional challenges that they've been dealing with, and that was great. BD1, superstar. I loved him. He was very childlike, but he was also very important to the story. And seeing kind of what he was about and seeing that he was actually, you know, there from the beginning with the early Jedis and helping you recover all of these memories, and, you know, only revealing all of these great secrets to the one that he felt was, you know, worthy of it. That, of course, that being Cal, was really, really cool. And I loved how, as Cal became more powerful, BD1 trusting in him more, and they just made a great tag team. So I loved all of that stuff. And the story for those three characters really, really hit a chord for me, and I thought it was very, very good. However, there are a lot of negatives here, and I go back to these reviews where people are giving this game 9 out of 10 and saying it's Game of the Year candidate. Guys, did we play the same game? I tagged a few things here that really stuck out to me, and I am sure there are more, But here are the ones that just really made me scratch my head and really broke the experience for me. And it was like I had to grudge and just grind through it to finish these things out. The first was Trilla's redemption. So Trilla, being this evil second sister, this evil inquisitor, basically left for dead by her former mentor, feeling betrayed, feeling hurt. Kind of in parallel to Darth Vader, more so in the sense that, she just felt burned. I mean, we have friends that let us down. She felt let down. She felt betrayed. Unlike most of us who don't build this giant revenge scheme, she ends up joining under Darth Vader, becomes an evil Jedi, taps on her inner hatred, and goes off to become the second sister, this Inquisitor, who is basically Cal's #1 nemesis. And halfway through the game, when you finally reveal who she is, and she takes off her helmet and she looks creepy, great graphical detail with this black eyeshadow around her eyes and this long wispy hair and just kind of menacing and evil. Just a phenomenal character model. When we finally understand who she is and how she ties into the story, it's cool. We fight her at the end in this chair inside Fort Inquisitus, which is like this evil headquarters where she has the holocron, and we're fighting her and we defeat her. Then it looks like she's, got this hatred in her heart, and she's like, you know what? You guys are right. I want to be your friend. And then Darth Vader comes and he's like, and breaks her and kills her. It was such a weird twist. It was such an 11th hour redemption. I don't know why they even did that. I felt no sympathy for her. She was evil. She definitely gave herself up to the dark side. And for her to just magically at the last second say, hey, you guys are right. Can I be a good guy too? It just really took away a lot of teeth from her story. And it kind of ruined her arc to me. The Holocron discovery was another really goofy part of the story. If you recall, it takes a while for your character, Cal, to work his way through. He has to go back to the Dathomir, and he has to fight his way through Malicos, which was a very hard boss fight. You defeat Malicos, and Night Sister Marin, who's been kind of watching you, decides to join you, and she's like, I don't know where this holocron is. It's probably hidden in these deep, dark caves. I don't know where to find it. You literally take like 20 steps forward, and it's just sitting right there. And I'm like, wait, you're telling me that you're this evil witch overruling this planet, and you have all these minions working for you in the shadows, and you can teleport around to different parts of the planet, and you're this all-power omnipotent ghost who is basically protecting this planet from the evil Jedi and from trying to, keep, this dark hatred that you have. You know everything about this world, but you don't know that the holocron is just sitting right there. It was like, how stupid. It was really stupid. She's like, I'm going to join you and see if I can help you find it. Well, gee whiz, thanks. I can hold forward in my left analog stick for about 3 seconds before I find the damn thing. I didn't need your help at all. Really dumb. The Holocron Destruction. Now, at the end of the game, I guess you can say this was a positive or a negative. The Holocron, which includes the index of all the characters, all the people in the world who are strong with the Jedi. This item, this Holocron, is basically an index for Cal to go and rebuild the Jedi Order. He can go to all of these different planets, recruit these young kids, teach them how to be Jedi, and rebuild the Order. It is the entire purpose of the game. Everything you do revolves around finding, obtaining, and using the Holocron in order to rebuild the Jedi Order. And when you finally get it in your hands, what do you do with it? You cut it in half and destroy it. How stupid. Now, Cal says that This is because the children need to discover their own destinies. It's not up to Cal in order to forge destinies. Now, I would like to think that this was really done because it doesn't fit in with the Star Wars lore as we know it. Clearly, there aren't a lot of Jedi left in the world. It makes sense from a standpoint that if Cal had this item that could basically bring all the Jedi together, that it would make sense there were a lot more Jedis running around other than Rey, who's kind of like the last Jedi in the world at this point. You know, I'm talking like current Star Wars, like episodes 7, 8, 9. However, why put all this effort into building this up just to destroy it? What was the point of this? Was it to get Cal more powerful? Was it to show him that it's okay to, you know, lose someone and have this redemptive arc? I'm not really sure, but it was really stupid that everything you do is really for nothing at the end of the day. And how about Cal's amnesia? That was something else that really frustrated me. Cal has this weird amnesia which is never really explained. You get these flashbacks of him with his mentor, and those are cool moments. That's what unlocks your new abilities, your force pull, your force push, your double jump. All is unlocked thanks to Cal reliving his moments as a young Padawan with his master, basically learning how to be a Jedi. That's cool. However, it's not really explained why he suddenly doesn't remember any of his powers. Maybe because he was being hunted and he kind of suppressed his powers. Maybe he kind of forgot things, but it was pretty weak. And probably a story point that you can't just have this all-encompassing Jedi right out of the bat who understands all of these things, who's perfectly powerful and strong, but it was just, it didn't fit in with anything, and it was a really bad part of the story. Lastly, the throwaway mission NPCs. I'm going to name some NPCs to you. How about Tarful? How about Saw Gerrera? What happened to these guys? They were leading the resistance. They were doing things. They were fighting. They were building up this battle. And what happens to them? Poof, nothing. They just walk away. They fade out into the abyss. Why build so many story missions around Tarful? Why make Saw Gerrera this great, struggling military leader if their missions are this deep and have really nothing to do with the greater part of the game? It was a major misstep. I hope we see these characters in the future, whether it's from DLC or at least some explanation in the next game, because they were largely misused. They were hollow, they felt flat, and they really didn't belong. I don't know why we had to identify with some of these characters. There was another character too. It was a woman who worked with Saw Gerrera. I cannot remember her name. And she was like a named NPC. And your character's like, hey, it's good to see you. How's your kid? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, thanks. I'm going to go back and fight. And she opens his door for you. And then she vanishes. Guys, if you're going to build a world, and you did a great job of it, and you're going to build all these NPCs, make them matter. Make their stories matter. Lastly, the grand finale, the big plus, Darth Vader, who is awesome. Why couldn't we have this Darth Vader in the movies? This Darth Vader is a godlike, omnipotent being doing multiple things at once with the Force, all powerful, all menacing, pushing water back, blocking one attack while attacking another. Just this awesome being. It was so cool to see him. It was so great that he got to be injected into this game, that Cal just had to run from him because he was so powerful and mean and evil and great. That is such a highlight to end this movie on, or this game on rather, that we had a tie-in to the big man himself, Darth Vader. As I said, this game really was all over the place. For every great thing, you had a negative thing. There were a lot of story tones that fell flat. I ultimately loved the world building and the characters, and the overall major story arc points were great. But there's a lot of things that just do not hold well under scrutiny. There are definitely a lot of head-scratching moments, a lot of throwaway characters, a lot of really odd storytelling points that just didn't really sit well with me. I think this game was definitely rushed. I think this game lacks any polish whatsoever. My computer just powered through to get these graphics as good as they can be, but even then, I had a lot of issues with this game. This game should have been a Game of the Year contender. This game should have been a 9 or a 10 out of 10, but it's far from that because there's just a lot of things wrong with this. Maybe Respawn really needs to go back to the drawing board on how to tell a good, enthralling story with a cast of characters that have logical beginnings, middles, and ends. Maybe we need to reanalyze what it means to be a Jedi and what kind of powers we should have. It was very, very limited. Ultimately, I did like the game, but man, there was a lot of things wrong with it. And I know I'm in the minority here with this because the critics are just eating this game up, but man, oh man, I guess I'm in the minority here on this because this game had some serious flaws with it. I have no desire to go back and 100% it or explore any of these other planets or go see anything else because I'm tired of collecting ponchos. I'm tired of collecting lightsabers. I'm done with it. I'm uninstalling this game. I'm moving on. I would like to say that it had some great moments, but it had some pretty bad moments too. With that, I'd like to close out this video. If you made it all the way to the end, congratulations. Leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Try to keep it spoiler free because there might be some people who are reading comments that haven't yet played the game. Just leave it, high level stuff, things you like, things you didn't like, that sort of thing. I'm glad we have a Star Wars game we can be proud of in the sense that it wasn't horrible. However, it left a lot to be desired. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, may the Force be with you always.